Yo, what's good everyone? We're on the CCP today and I've rank 3'd Crossbones. As most of you know, Crossbones was one of my favourite champions in the game for a very long time. I know this guy in and out and he's the champion that got me noticed. But I don't use him much nowadays because as Crossbones became more and more popular, you know, I started to play him less and less because you know me, I like to play underrated champions, and Crossbones once was the most underrated champion in game, but he's not anymore. He's widely recognised as one of the most powerful skill champions, but I still know this guy in and out. I still have plenty of stories I want to tell of this guy, so I decided to make a video dedicated to why I love Crossbones, and this is going to end off the series of Crossbones videos I've done. You know, I've made a guide for Crossbones, I've made a battleground showcase. He was actually the first champion I ever made a showcase on, and I wasn't even planning to do it for any other champion. I just love Crossbones that much, and he was so underrated that I felt like I needed to get a showcase out there. And yeah, I've uploaded plenty of random battleground fights as well. So if you want to check any of that out, I'll put the link in the description. But in this video, we're just going to be fighting some random long form content, like Abyss Thing, etc. Whilst I tell you all about what makes Crossbones so powerful, and whilst I tell you all some stories about my Crossbones. And where we're going to start off is how I started playing him. Now, when I first started using Crossbones, he was not a popular champ at all. 7 stars weren't even out yet, so he was not a 7-star, and barely anyone used him. Barely anyone had him in their battlegrounds deck. But I had been messing around with my 6-star Crossbones just in Realm of Legends, and I was like, damn, this guy has some crazy damage potential. And whenever I seen someone use Crossbones, they would play him wrong. They would activate Overrun at the start of the match, but I learned from practicing in Realm of Legends that his best rotation is to use an SB1 before you activate Overrun. So I started ranking him up, and I used him in Battlegrounds, and like my very first fight, it was like a thing, and I nuked him in like 40 seconds, and I was like, yo, this guy's crazy. How are more people not using this guy? So I kept practicing with him. I kept practicing maintaining his furies, learning his rotation, because there wasn't really a good Crossbones guide out at the time. No one really knew how to use him properly, so I had to learn myself. So I just kept practicing and practicing with him, and soon enough I was doing like hooklings and man things in 30 seconds. That might not sound like the most impressive thing ever, but keep in mind this was like a year ago. Hookling and man thing were some of the best defenders at that time, and I was nuking them with Crossbones in 30 to 40 seconds. Some people were even thinking I was modding. And then I nuked a Rintra. Now Rintra had just come out. He was one of the biggest problem in Battlegrounds. I nuked a Rintra in like 45 seconds with my Crossbones, and that got me accused of modding. I had to send in the video to yeah, prove I wasn't modding. And that's when I was like, damn, okay, this guy's my favorite character. I'm meant to play this character. So I just kept using him, and I kept killing it in Battlegrounds with him, and people started to pay attention, but people weren't ranking him up yet. Also, at this point, I was big into war. I was in Salty, which is a top war alliance, and we were competing for #1. We were competing for war champ, and we did actually get war champion, but that's besides the point. As you can imagine, Salty have very strict plans. You can't use many champions. You have to use the champions you're assigned, and no one was using Crossbones in war at the time. No one. But I started to show my officer some Battlegrounds gameplay with Crossbones. He saw that I was really good with him, so he started to assign me a couple of fights here and there in war, just to see how Crossbones did, and every time I would ace the fight. So he started to assign me Crossbones more and more, and it got to the point where he was actually telling other people to rank up Crossbones for war. This is a very big deal. There's not many champions used in high tier war, and you know, I got Crossbones approved for it, really, to put it simply. So yeah, my officer at Salty, he was telling loads of people to rank up Crossbones for war, and other alliances were seeing how well Salty was doing with Crossbones in war, so other alliance started ranking him up as well, and that's how he became a popular war champ. And he started to become more popular in Battlegrounds when he came out as a 7-star. This is when I put out a guide on him as well, so a lot more people figured out how to play him properly, so a lot more people started to use him in Battlegrounds. So yeah, that's the story on how Crossbones went from one of the most underrated champs in game to one of the most powerful skill champs. I would easily say he's a top 3 skill champion, if not the best. The only other champion that can compare to Crossbones is Kate. Crossbones he's so ridiculously OP and he's so well designed. I'll talk about it a bit now. Now, if you don't know how Crossbones works, he has one of the strongest abilities in game. He can reduce your opponent's defensive ability accuracy by 25% for each Fury buff. So when you have 4 Fury buffs, you have 100% defensive ability accuracy reduction on your opponent. And this is one of the most powerful abilities in game. People don't realize how powerful it is. This shuts off any ability that will trigger when you hit your opponent. So anything from Photon's charges, Thing's rock stacks, Nick Fury's tactical charges, to hazard shift, Thorns, basically any ability that will trigger when you hit the opponent, Crossbones shuts off. And that is such a strong ability, and it's what really pushes him over the edge to being one of the best skill champions. On top of this, he doesn't crit, and most champions who don't crit, they don't do the best damage, but Crossbones doesn't crit and he has insane damage. He has some of the best damage in game. And the thing is with Crossbones' damage, he's a ramp up champion, but he ramps up extremely fast. Once you use your SB1 and activate Overrun, you're doing plenty of damage. So he's good from anything to short fights to long fights. He does take a bit of skill to play, but it's worth the reward. Once you figure out how to maintain his Furies, yeah, he's definitely worth learning. He's one of the most powerful champions in game. And you know, if you're not a big Battlegrounds person, you can always bring along the Mangog synergy, and this makes him very easy to play because this extends his Furies by 50%. But anyway, back to his abilities. So on top of crazy damage, defensive ability accuracy reduction, and not being able to crit, he has access to buffs, he has access to debuffs, and when he's at max sig, he has a 90% chance to shrug any debuff, not just non-damaging debuffs, not just damaging debuffs, any debuff he can shrug off. All this combined just makes Crossbones one of the most powerful champions in the game. But he's not overpowered because he does take skill and patience to play. You can't just pick up and play Crossbones and he's the best champion in game. He's Hercules straight off the bat. No, you have to put time into him. You have to learn his rotation. You have to learn when's the best time to use your heavy attacks, etc. It takes a lot of practice to use Crossbones at his full potential. I have a guide on him, like I mentioned earlier in the video, so check that out if you want to learn the intricacies of Crossbones. Back about a year ago, when Crossbones was underrated, I was always in the line chats telling everyone how OP Crossbones was, and no one would believe me, no one would take me seriously. I would say Crossbones is the best skill, he's better than Kingpin, and people just wouldn't believe me, man. But look at him now. He's widely recognised as one of the best skill champions, and it makes me so happy. I feel like I've done the champion justice, and that's why I'm making this video. The other reason I'm making this video is because I don't want to play Battlegrounds at the moment. Like, I'm supposed to be a Battlegrounds focused channel, yeah, but the game mode is in shambles right now. It's at the worst it's ever been. I don't even want to play Battlegrounds, so I'm trying to make content where I don't have to grind that out. So yeah, this is the perfect time to make a Crossbones video. Will I rank 3 him on the main account? For sure, one day. He's definitely going to rank 3, even though he's not my favourite champion anymore. I still love him, I still have a soft spot for him, and he's still insanely OP. So yeah, at some point he will go to rank 3 on the main account, just not soon, because obviously he's useless in the current Gladiator Circuit meta because it's crit me with your best shot, and he cannot crit. And he's not going to be too good next meta because there's Fate Steel. So I'm holding off on the rank 3 for now. Crossbones should have been rank 3 a long time ago, but by the time we got rank 3s, this was when I started using the champion less. So Christian, stop being mad at me for not rank 3 in my Crossbones. He'll go to rank 3 at some point, I promise. I guess the last thing to talk about is how Crossbones interacts with hero champions. Yes, he's much better against hero champions because he gains extra fury buffs and his defensive ability accuracy reduction is stronger. Well, not stronger. You need 4 Furies instead of 5 Furies against the hero champion to completely shut off their defensive ability accuracy. But he's still great against non-hero champions. The way Crossbones works is whenever he would land a critical hit, he gains a Fury buff. Not when he does, but when he would crit, he gets a Fury buff. And if your Crossbones is a 7-star, of course you can put the crit rating stat focus on him, and this will let him gain extra Fury buffs. It will give him a higher chance of ramping up faster. So as a 7-star, Crossbones is great against non-hero champions, but he's OP against hero champions. But yeah, that's going to be the end of the video. If you enjoy this type of content, if you want me to make a video like this on another champion, like Nova for example, I'm always down to make more videos on Nova. Let me know, man. And yeah, if you enjoyed it, I'd appreciate it if you'd leave a like, leave a subscribe, and I will see you all in the next video.